All right, there we go. So when we do forward bends, sitting down forward bends, here's our legs, here's our torso. When we bend this way, a lot of times this happens where the spine pushes out backwards and those discs kind of compress in the front and then, open up and kind of overextend in the back. So when we're bending forward like this, we want to make sure our spine stays nice and straight, and we're hinging at the pelvis instead of, making the movement happen in our lower back. So if you look at me, and if you're seated flat on the ground, we tend to roll backward and then we tend to come forward, and our spine is very rounded. So instead, we want all the forward bending actions to be from our pelvis instead of from our back. So today, think a lot about the range of motion you have in your hip joints, and specifically for deep flexion, that will allow the pelvis to kind of roll over the femur bones, to give the spine some nice room. So think that whatever your sacrum is doing, that's what you want your spine to be doing. So if the sacrum, which is, moving with the pelvis, if the sacrum is able to go this way, the spine will too. But if the sacrum's rolling back this way and you move this way with your spine, that's when the disc problems start to arise. So try to think whenever you're doing forward bending postures, whether it's picking something up off the floor or whether it's doing a yoga pose or anything in between, try to let the action happen from the pelvis instead of from the spine. And bending the knees is a wonderful way of getting a lot of supple range of motion in your pelvis. So if you're locked out in your knees, the pelvis, is taut because the hamstrings are going to pull on the pelvis and not let it move so much. So the more your knees soften, the more you have slack in your hamstrings, which gives the pelvis a lot of range of motion. So if you're doing a forward bend and you feel stuck and you feel like, oh, I can't go any further, try bending your knees, which will allow that pelvis to move and give you a lot more spaciousness in the range of motion in your vertebrae than if you had straight legs. So just some little tips, to think about along the way so that we keep our spine really healthy when we're bending forward instead of that typical response where you do a deep forward fold and you get up and you're like, oh, my back. Okay. All right. So let's sit up straight and tall and come to a comfortable position. And you can even start that right now by making sure that you're sitting up on something instead of sitting flat on the floor. If your pelvis is on the ground, it's much more difficult to keep that neutral lumbar curve alive. So if you're sitting up on something, let's start with just some simple rolling through the pelvis. So put your hands on your knees and just rock back and forward a little bit on your pelvis so that you feel, close your eyes so you can really feel inside and notice, oh, that's my sacrum that I'm putting weight on. And then see if you can sense the rolling and weight bearing now on the sit bones, which is part of the pelvis. Okay, so back onto the tailbone and sacrum, which is not part of the pelvis, and then forward and feel that relationship of the pelvis supporting you. Okay, so just a few times back and forth, and even that might just feel really good in your spine to just get some range of motion in your back and in your hips and in your pelvis. And then as you settle into a posture, see if you can be on your sit bones instead of rolled back on the weight of your tail. Okay, so let the sacrum not be the full weight bearing structure. Let your sit bones be the full weight bearing structure. And then just notice your posture from there. Feel the alignment of your spine. Close your eyes and center yourself, head over tail. Open up through your chest, open up through your breathing. And give yourself a little scan and just notice if there's anywhere you need to care for particularly today. Anything about you that you need to invite into the fold a little bit. All right, and then when you're ready, bring your hands to your heart and let's offer an intention here. All right, and then release the hands. And let's find our way onto our back. All right, so as you stretch out and lengthen your body, enjoy the relationship you have with gravity right now. You know, when we have our back on the ground, things spread out a little bit. See if you can just enjoy that sensing of space through your vertebrae or in between your vertebrae. And then stretch your arms overhead and let's get some movement here. So reaching one side, reaching the other side, and just enjoy that feeling of length and space. See if you can feel your hips move. Finding your breath. All right, and then bring your knees into your chest and give yourself a little bit of a hug, rocking side to side. All right, and then hang on to the knees and let the low back ease up here. As you start to circle your knees, see if you can just let the hips relax, let the low back relax, kind of sense what is the range of motion that you have here right now. And then let's move the other way, circling our knees. And then we'll open up our knees away from the midline, bring them back in toward and just enjoy what it feels like to have some range of motion in your hip joints. Rest your head, feel at ease through your breathing, through your shoulders, your chest. And then put your feet onto the ground, arms straight out to the side. And let's just windshield wiper our knees left and right, nice and gentle, moving, rocking from side to side, letting your head turn as well. All right. Okay, put your feet on the ground, hip width apart or a little wider, and let's rub our cicada wings. So draw your knee down your opposite shin and back up again. And then down your opposite shin and back up again. So just a nice gentle motion, warming up a little internal rotation in the hip joints. Noticing the spreading of the SI joint when you internally rotate that femur bone. And then pause with your feet on the ground, neutral spine. And let's just pay attention. How does your low back feel here? Is it flat on the back and compressed, or is there a little gap under your low back? You know, what's the neutral state for you? Some big belly breathing. And let's begin to turn on our transverse abdominis a little bit. Grab a block and stick it between your thighs. So when we not only think about shifting the pelvis as a way of protecting our back, forward bending, but we can also engage muscularly through our core to protect our back when we're forward bending. So this deep low back or deep low belly muscle translates all the way to the lumbar spine. So have the block between your thighs. I have it kind of down closer to my pelvis. You might feel more comfortable with it closer to your knees, whichever width and length you want to put in there is great. And let's just have a moment to release tension on the block and then engage the block. Release and engage. So see if you can match up your breath to that movement. What might it feel like to exhale and squeeze the block? And then inhale and release the block. And the dominance might be you just move your inner thigh muscles onto the block, but go beyond that. See if you can sense the action in your core. So maybe put your hands on your low belly and feel those muscles engage and protect That transverse abdominis is like an airbag against your spine, so that when we move forward, if we have engagement here, we will protect those lumbar spine vertebrae a little bit more. All right, relax and remove the block. Windshield wiper your knees again, left and right. And then right knee into your chest, left leg long on the ground, and just enjoy deep flexion. So we're going to get, into some flexion in our hips today. So just notice where do you go? How far in can you get your knee toward your chest? What's your natural place of range of motion that you have available? Take that knee over to the left and twist open here. Feel free to move around in your shoulder, move your arm, turn your head. Find your breath, just anything that feels really good in your body. Remember that warming up with mobility is usually better than a statically held stretch. Bring that knee back into your chest and let's move around in your ankles. Wiggle through your toes, get your feet to free up a little bit. And then we'll switch sides. Left knee in, right leg along. Feel that deep compression of the knee. See if you can settle it toward your chest or to the side of your chest, whatever's feeling good. And then we'll cross that left knee over to the right and twist open and just enjoy this feeling across your chest. Move through your shoulder, move through your head. Any movement that feels right is good. And then come back, squeeze that knee in, move around in your ankles, wiggle through your toes, just get your feet and calves free. All right, and then we'll bring both knees into your chest. And just notice that, the opening in your lumbar spine. This is a nice, safe place for the low back typically. Your vertebrae are long with gravity, your knees are bent, so there's not a lot of tugging on your pelvis. Really nice, gentle way of stretching open your back. All right, and then see what going a little deeper feels like. Maybe you can hold behind your knees. Maybe you grab your feet and go a little deeper toward a happy baby pose. And rock here. Try not to be too stiff or stuck. Let a little movement happen. And then explore what straightening one leg at a time might feel like. And you don't have to go all the way straight. So tip a little to the left and start to straighten the left leg a bit. And then tip a little to the right and start to straighten the right leg a little bit. And with our legs out this wide, with the other knee bent, it's a nice gentle way of just exploring a little bit of that range of motion in your hamstrings. Okay, all right, back to center. Let's stretch out to a star, reaching your limbs wide. Let's roll your wrists and your fingers. Big breath. Exhale, knees into your chest. Pick up your head, and then we'll roll to your side and come up to your hands and your knees. As you find all fours, start to enjoy some cat-cows. What a wonderful range of motion this gives you for your spine. Okay, so remember, each vertebrae can ripple to the next. And again, this is such a safe, for most occasions, this is a very safe way of moving and manipulating your vertebrae without too much pressure, because we're not against gravity. Gravity is spread out across our spine. And then feel free to turn the pose into any kind of movement that feels right for your body right now. All right, and then to loosen the low back a little bit, let's put a paintbrush on our tailbone and draw a circle on the wall behind you. So on the wall, not on the floor. And just do any amount of circling through the pelvis that you'd like to do. You can start small. You don't have to draw big circles right away. Just see what feels right for your back. Just letting your pelvis move. We're just trying to increase our capacity for pelvic movement so that when we get to those forward bends, we've got a lot of capacity. Turn your circle the other direction. Start small, go bigger whenever you'd like, or maybe stay small. And just notice if, even though you're moving your pelvis, notice if the rest of your spine is kind of undulating with that spiral that you're creating. All right, and then drop back towards child's pose and feel that deep compression of your hip joints, your knee joints too. And we'll do a little bit of range of motion for the low back here. So come on up onto all fours, tuck your tailbone under. So kind of exactly opposite of what I was describing earlier. Tuck the tailbone under and stretch back. And then come back up. Tip the tail, let the pelvis roll over the femur bones and drop back. Back up, tuck the tail, round under, stretch back. Come back up, tip the tail high to the sky, come on back. Come back up onto all fours. Let's reach the right arm up in the air. Exhale and drop that shoulder down and twist. Feel free to move here. You can rock forward and back. You can push, like push the hand into the ground. Let's see what feels good. And then we'll release that and bring that arm back up in the air. Hand comes down onto the ground and we'll switch sides. Arm up. Exhale, drop that shoulder down. Twisting, threading the needle. Maybe your body likes a little bit of movement. Maybe you're ready for some stillness. How's the breath? No matter what you're doing, even if you're being very still, we're still mobilizing through the breathing. All right, then reach that arm back up in the air. Hand comes down onto the ground and we'll lift to a dog pose. Take a little time to find your way here. Pedal your feet, maybe dropping one heel down and then the other. So don't let your body get overwhelmed right away. Get a little mobility in there, a little movement. Move your hips, move your heels. Maybe move your head. And as you get a little more settled, maybe rock your hips side to side. Just see what kind of movement you want. And as you settle, notice this pose. So bend your knees a little bit so that you're not overwhelming the low back. Lift your sit bones high. Stretch your heels back and down. So we open the backs of the legs really well without a lot of strain on our lumbar spine. You don't have to have straight legs to stretch the hamstrings. You can bend your knees and then use the lift of the sit bones to stretch the hamstrings. All right, walk your feet forward. Come to Uttanasana. Grab some blocks and just bend your knees a lot here. See if you can bobble your head, wag your tail, just loosen things up. Inhale for a halfway lift. Femur bones up and back. And let's pedal your feet, hands on blocks. Okay, pedal your feet, toes up, heel up on the other side, and then switch. Just let those feet and calf, remember the back line of our body goes all the way to our feet. And then spread open those toes, bend your knees, waterfall your spine down, and then push through your feet. Inhale, rising up, arms coming up to the sky. And let's cactus open your chest and spread your wings. Feel a little squeeze back there in the back of your body. Inhale, up you go again. And then exhale, hands down at your sides. Just pause here for a moment. Find your breath. As we come forward into Uttanasana again, we do this pose all the time, but let's get a little aware of what we're doing. So bend your knees so that you can feel your pelvis kind of roll over the femur bones, and then come back up again. And then tuck the tail under and try to do the same thing. where the tail is tucked under and kind of come forward. And you'll notice without the pelvis moving, you don't get very far with your range of motion of touching your toes, right? So come back up. And this time we'll bend the knees a little bit, anterior tilt the pelvis. Let the pelvis roll over the femur bones. And just notice how much deeper your body can go in the forward fold without any tension in your back. Keeping those knees bent as much as you need to. And notice, I know people have this mistake thinking that they have to keep their legs straight to stretch the back of their body. But notice how much stretch you're getting in the back of your body with a lot of ease here. Okay, a halfway lift, hands on blocks so that you have lots of room in your spine. Now you can straighten your legs because you're up high and your spine has lots of room. See if you can get that feeling of still having the pelvis roll over the femur bones. Sit bones high. Let your inner thighs kind of roll back a little bit. Press through your feet and reach your heart forward. And then bend a little bit deeper, folding forward. Let your knees soften. Relax your head. Your knees can bend as much as you want. Anterior tilt over the femur bones with that pelvis. Grab onto the base of your skull with the heels of your hands down and just give a little traction, a little gravity pull. You can draw your head down and maybe draw your head in toward your chest. And notice the stretch along your spine. Release your hands back to a halfway lift. And then we'll bring our hands onto the ground and step back to a dog pose. So you can get very big stretches in the whole back line of your body without having to have so much strain come into the lumbar vertebrae. So notice how nice it feels to have space. You can take your feet wider apart if you'd like. Sit bones high. Your sit bones are part of your pelvis. So when you lift your sit bones, the pelvis rolls forward and you get that anterior tilt of the pelvis, which allows for a lot of space in your spine. Let's come forward into a plank, holding yourself steady. Integrate, breathe, find your inner strength, that core support again, engaging your transverse abdominis. And then we'll put our knees down onto the ground. Bring your forearms onto the ground, and we're going to come into a forearm plank. Forearm planks are a great place for you to start being aware of that deep core support that can protect your lumbar spine. Okay, so, and if you're feeling vulnerable, keep your knees down on the ground. You don't have to have your knees up off the ground. You decide. Find your breath, nice and stable through your core. Shoulders away from the ears. Wrap around your spine like a corset. And then we'll put the knees down onto the ground and find your belly on the floor. Okay. Inhale for a Sphinx pose. Elbows stay down, shoulders right over your elbows. Lengthen your heart. Reach your feet. Maybe reach one foot a little longer, reach another foot a little longer, and then reach both feet and see if you can feel that extension through the front of the belly, front of the spine. And exhale and relax. Put your hands underneath your head. Pick up your feet and just rock a little bit like we did in the beginning on our back. Just rock your feet left and right. Maybe your head likes to turn. All right, go ahead and come back. Bring your arms or hands into cobra position. Roll the shoulders back away from the ears. Inhale, come up. Keep your elbows bent. Don't try to straighten your arms. Stretch through the front of your body. And then exhale and relax. Take your hands back by your sides, palms facing the ground. Engage your triceps. Lift your arms up off the ground. Feel your shoulders engage. Keep your legs down at first, shoulder blades down. Start to invite strength in the whole back line. And then lift your legs, engage your glutes, engage your hamstrings, engage the bottom of your feet. Reach your hands toward your feet. Breathing deeply. And then exhale and relax. Come up onto all fours and move your spine around. Wagging your tail, moving some cat-cows or anything that feels good. Just let your body do its thing. Find your way up to a dog pose. Feel some extension and length here. Root to rise. Notice, are your knees bent a little bit? What does that offer to your spine? Try straightening your legs all the way and notice what happens in your lumbar spine. Bend your knees. Pay attention to the lumbar spine. Straighten your knees. Pay attention. Which is more comfortable for you? Okay. So if your knees are bent, notice the pelvis. See if you can anterior tilt the pelvis a little bit, feeling like your pubic bone can kind of pass through your inner thighs. Relax your head. Okay. Walk your feet forward. Push through your feet. Rise up. Arms upward. And then exhale, tracing down through the center of your body. Pause here for a moment. Inhale, arms up. Let's cactus the arms again. Feel the back body engage. And then exhale and float forward. A halfway lift, opening through your spine. Exhale, coming back down. Step your left foot back, finding a lunge on this side. Extend through that back leg. And as we begin to bend and straighten the front knee, pay attention to what we've been working on with this pelvic tilt. Okay, so a lot of times when we are in this pose and we try to straighten our front leg, all of a sudden our pelvis tucks under and our back rounds. What would happen if you focused on keeping that anterior tilt to the pelvis the whole way through? So bending and then only go straight with that leg to the place where your pelvis can sustain that anterior tilt. The minute you feel like your back rounds or your pelvis tucks under or your tail tucks under, see if you can go less far than that, okay? So that we're not compromising the integrity of our spine to give to our hamstrings. All right, ground yourself in your lunge. Push through your feet, rising up, crescent lunge, reaching the arms upward to the sky. Feel some space, feel some breath. Open things up. Enjoy. And we'll release forward. Take your arms back by your sides. Engage your triceps, palms facing the ground. Engage the back body and engage the core. And then release the hands down onto the ground. And we'll switch sides. So you can go back through a dog pose if you'd like, or you can make the transition just by switching the legs. So you decide how you like to transition. And we'll come to the second side. So now our left foot is in front. Lift your back knee up off the ground. Enjoy that lunge. And again, as we start to bend and straighten, and we do this all the time, but maybe we don't do it as mindfully. So notice as you straighten that leg some, does your back round, does your tail tuck under? See what you can do to keep the anterior tilt of the pelvis and the freedom in the spine as the leg begins to straighten. So only go as far in that straightening that your spine and pelvis will allow. The goal is not to go all the way straight. The goal is to protect your body and keep it in good working order. We want all a sense of efficiency and integrity in our joints. Okay, and then ground into your lunge. Feel your roots. Rise up when you're ready for it. You can take your time. Maybe bringing your arms up doesn't feel so good and you'd rather have your arms in a different position. Okay, so find your way into your version of today for crescent lunge. root to rise. So we're engaging the back body now. The glutes on both sides are engaged. Our spinal muscles are engaged. Our core is engaged. Breathing deeply. We can reach the arms back behind us. Lean forward a little bit. Press into the ground. Engage your core. Engage your back muscles. And then we'll release our hands back to a dog pose. Come forward into a plank. One more time, feel that integrity of your core. Maybe turn your belly to the right. Back to center. Turn your belly to the left. And back to center. Find the ground. And this time, we're going to flip over onto our back and come to a bridge pose. So feet onto the ground. Take a deep breath in and lift your pelvis up. Pelvis, shoulders are underneath you. Your chest and your pelvis are lifting. Round through the four corners of your feet. Hug your heels down and drag them toward your shoulders. So you really light up the back body here. Find that engagement. Notice if there's any sleepy places. And then we'll relax and release the pelvis back down. We're going to repeat it one more time. All right, and then inhale, lift on up. Find that full bridge pose. Make sure your neck feels nice and healthy. There's no compression in your neck. Your chest is lifting toward your chin, but we're not pulling our chin down toward our chest. Get a little weight into the back of your head. Open up through your shoulders, press your arms down. Feel that engagement in the back body. Are your knees in line with each other? Are they in line with your hips? Draw your knees away from your chest. Pull your heels toward your chest. And then we'll come back down to the ground. Okay. Windshield wiper your knees. Lefty, righty. Head turning in opposition. Relax your neck. All right, and then we'll release. Come back over onto your hands and your knees. Full breaths here. Reach your right leg straight back in the air and stabilize with your left shin on the ground. Keep your hands on the ground at first. Just find your glutes, find your hamstrings, engage. And then we'll reach out with our left arm and find that extension in the body. Keep the pelvis nice and neutral, low back nice and neutral. Lots of core here. And then we'll put that hand down, that knee down, switch sides. Give your wrists a little shake if you need. You can always be on fists or forearms on blocks. Take your left leg straight back behind you. Engage. Glutes, hamstrings, all working together. Find your core. And when you feel ready, we'll take the arm into the equation too. Right arm out in front of you. Thumb up, toes down. Lots of core, lots of back body. And then release. Come up. Give your hands a little shake if you need. And then come up to a dog pose. Feel some extension here. Let's reach our right leg up in the air. Now our hips are, where our legs are doing oppositional work. Can we find our glutes on both sides? Are you having a tendency to round the back? See what you can do to keep that neutral spine. Push off your hands and reach into your leg. Square the pelvis. And then put that foot down and we'll switch sides. Left leg up. Square hips. Engage through the glutes. Find your core. Hips are square. We're not letting the back round. We're keeping that neutral spine. And then put
your foot down onto the ground and walk your feet forward. Find that Uttanasana again. Bend your knees. Remember, we're letting our knees bend so we can roll our pelvis over our thighs. Notice your tailbone and your sacrum. Or can they lift to the sky instead of pulled down toward the ground? Find your blocks and come to a halfway lift. Now our legs can straighten, our spine can lengthen, and see what it feels like to have that same anterior tilt of the pelvis while our legs are straight. Spread through your feet, breathing deeply. And then relax. Bend your knees and come on up to stand. We're going to find a wall or a piece of furniture and take a half dog. Okay, so extending outward down instead of our hands on blocks, we're keeping our hands on the wall or on the furniture. Now, if you're very flexible, this can happen where you can kind of collapse through your shoulders and fall into the posture. Let's keep our shoulders in line with our spine so we're not collapsing our spine. Feel that sense of being able to lift the sit bones without collapsing the shoulder blades. Okay. So we're not arching, we're not going into a back bend. We're just keeping that neutrality of our lumbar spine. Spread open your sit bones, spread your feet on the ground, and feel how nice of a stretch this is for your hamstrings. Okay. And then take a step forward. Come on back to center. Arms up to the sky, cactus open, spread your wings, and then we'll release and fold forward. Come down onto the ground, onto your knees. All right, so grab a blanket and a strap. So we want to always be sitting on the edge of a blanket for forward folds. Again, this rotates the pelvis, anterior tilt of the pelvis is available. All right, first, before we do anything else, soles of the feet together. Let's open up the inner thighs a little bit. Feel some length in your spine and only come forward where you can keep that long spine. So we're not collapsing and rounding our spine, but we're feeling that extension. Maybe your elbows come into your knees. And then look at your feet. Are they doing the same thing? Are your knees at the same height? Do you feel even weight through your sit bones? Is it easy to keep your spine straight, or do you tend to want to collapse? All right, and then we'll come back up. Janu Shirshasana. Your right leg is straight, left foot on the inside edge of your right leg. We're going to turn the torso a little bit toward your right leg and making sure our sit bones are up on the edge of a blanket. We're going to notice our spine. So the tendency is to collapse and round forward and think that we want to get our knee to our nose. But instead, we want to keep that long spine without strain. This is the key, without strain. So use a strap around your foot to take a little of the pressure away from the back body. Press your thigh down into the ground. Feel that long spine and tip the pelvis a little bit over that femur bone as you come forward. So you should feel a good stretch, but it should not feel stressful. Okay? Sometimes I like my right hand on the ground instead of holding the strap, so that there's a little bit more capacity to support my spine. Now turn on your core. That transverse abdominis protects. Find your breath. When you get to the end point of your range, try, without losing the length of your spine, try drawing your chin toward your chest. And then slowly come back up and assess. Do you have any rebound discomfort in your low back? Is there any consequence of the forward bend? I hope not. Okay, we'll take our right leg out to the right now. So try instead, make your pelvis even on your blanket. So both sit bones are on your blanket. If this is too much of a stretch on your inner thigh, just back off by bringing your foot forward. You can also put a rolled towel or a blanket underneath your knee. Find your breath. Now, this is a straight leg pose, so if it's too much for your pelvis, you can stick a rolled blanket or even a block underneath your knee. The block isn't nearly as comfortable. Find your breath and reach up, up, up with that left arm, a little bit of a side bend. So we're getting into the QL, the quadratus lumborum, that deep low back muscle. Imagine a sandbag on your left thigh, pressing down through that sit bone. So we're nice and stable in the pelvis, and then reach and lengthen the spine. Breathing deeply. All right, and then we'll come back and bring that leg forward. Maybe cross your legs for a moment and just notice, if you have a healthy good back, that should feel really good. If you have disc challenges, these forward fold poses can be very challenging. So just notice, how is your back? Did you take care of yourself well? Okay, we'll switch sides. Now our right foot is on the inner thigh of our straight right leg. Now, because our leg is straight, if that's not good for us, if it's hard to move your pelvis forward, put a rolled towel or something underneath your knee so that you turn this pose into a bent knee posture. You can even do it without a rolled blanket. You can just have your knee bent and your heel pressing into the ground. Okay, find your breath. Grab the strap, wrap it around your foot. Have enough support where your shoulders are down and your elbows are pulling back instead of being tugged forward. Lift up through your spine. Pay attention. There's a teeny twist in there. Pay attention to the roll of the pelvis over the femur bone. So we're not letting the pelvis roll back. We're letting the pelvis roll forward. If you have struggled with that, try bending your knee. Feel the extension of your spine. There should not be a lot of strain in your back to hold this posture. That's why we're holding the strap. You can take your hand on the side of your leg, one hand on the strap, one hand on the ground. And then when you get to your full range, maybe you want to draw your chin in without collapsing and rounding through your spine. Press your thigh into the ground. Flex your toes. And then we'll gently, slowly come back up. Assess, is there any rebound pain in your back? How did you do? And then we'll take the leg out to the side. And remember, you can make sure that both your sit bones are on the blanket. Okay. Feel the lift of your spine. Okay. Find your breath. And then ground through. You want to imagine you have a sandbag on the top of your right thigh right now. So you're grounding through the right side of your pelvis as much as the left. And then reach with the right arm up and maybe a little bit over to a lateral bend. Okay, you can hold that strap or you can put your hand on the ground and feel that extension. Side body extension. We're staying neutral in the low back. Of course, we're laterally bending, so it's not totally neutral, but we're not collapsing into a rounded spine. Root through your legs, reach through your crown. Find your breath. Notice, how does the side compare to the other? And then come back. Bring your legs to cross and just assess, how's your back? Deep postures these are. They may seem easier because we're on the ground, but they're actually very deep poses. Okay, Paschimottanasana. Take the flesh of your buttocks out so you can feel your sit bones on that blanket. And legs are straight, but you can always bend your knees. Blanket unrolled under your knees is a great way of doing this posture if you struggle with getting the pelvis to roll over the femur bones. With your strap, instead of just holding the back of our feet like this, we're going to take the strap first into around, so take it around the back of your feet, the bottom of your feet, so the straps are on the outside pinky edges, and then each foot, wrap a circle around the front of your foot and back under again. So we have a circle around each foot with the strap coming back around to the pinky toe side of our foot. Now our feet are more mobile and not smushed. Stretch through the big toe and inner heel. Lengthen the inseam of the leg. Bend your knees if you need to. Lift the spine. Start to come forward by rolling the pelvis over the femur bones. Drop the femur bones down into the ground. The heads of the femur bones root so the pelvis can roll over them. How's your core? Remember that transverse abdominis can protect your low back. Feel extension when you get to your end point and not beyond. Maybe you want to tuck your chin. Shoulder blades down. Notice your pelvis and back and core. Open up through your feet. How's your breath? And then come back up and notice if there's any rebound pain in your lumbar spine. Right. Take your feet over to the right, and we're just going to put our left sit bone on the blanket. Let your right sit bone kind of hang down in that pocket. We're going to let the front of the right ankle rest in the arch of the left foot. Try not to be leaning over to the side. Get as balanced in your pelvis as you can. We're going to turn left. Right arm up in the air, left hand behind you to support. And the left hand can be on a block if the ground feels far away. And let's twist left. Big breaths here. Rotate with the breath. Keep dropping the right sit bone down instead of pushing it up and forward. Melt your rib cage. All right, and then come back to center. And we'll scooch to the other side of the blanket. And we're going to take our feet over to the left. So now the left front ankle will rest in the arch of the right foot. Our right sit bone is on the blanket and our left sit bone is hanging down in the pocket. Lift up through your spine. Right hand behind you on a block or on the ground. Left arm up in the air. Find your twist and bring your hand to the outside of your knee. The breath is what moves you. Notice if you're kind of pushing the left side of your pelvis or rib cage forward. See if you can drop the left sit bone down, melt the ribs. And then come back to center. One more time, sitting on the edge of your blanket, soles of the feet together. We'll start with them close in toward our pelvis, lift the spine, and find that symmetry one more time as we lengthen forward. We're letting our pelvis tip forward. We're not dropping the sacrum down. You want that sheath of the low back to kind of roll forward. All right, and then come on up, and we're going to pull the feet a little further away from us now, so there's like a diamond shape between your legs. Lift up through your spine. Again, pelvis is rolling forward, and we're going to press down with our elbows onto our knees to just get a little action in the hips here. Open up your feet, soles of the feet opening. Notice the difference between the two sides of your body. How's your breathing? Okay. All right, and then come back upright. Come onto your back and grab a block. Bend your knees, feet on the ground. Notice neutral spine. Let's lift up the hips and just give a shake. Shake your hips. All right, and then put your pelvis back down again. Now grab the block. We're going to go on our low height of the block. So the block is across our sacrum, underneath our sacrum. Lift the pelvis up and then lay it back down on the block. Make sure your sacrum is supported. Find your breath here and kind of follow your intuition. So for some people, the intuition might be, oh, all I want to do is straighten my legs out and kind of have that counter pose of lifting the pelvis. So if that feels good, you can try one leg at a time or both legs at a time, maybe to stretch open the hip flexors and the front of the pelvis. If you're not feeling like you need a counter pose, maybe you're wanting to bring your knees into your chest and relax here. And feel free to do a combination of things. Maybe a happy baby pose would feel really good with your block underneath you. And then maybe legs up the wall or legs up the imaginary wall would feel really good too. So lots of choices. Take a sequence that feels right for your body as you move through any of those variations. So there's no right answer. Everybody's body is different. So just kind of follow whatever it is that your body needs in this moment. Feel free to explore. Now, as you think about Shavasana, I would recommend something under your knees, like a bolster or a blanket, so you're not straight legged. You can even turn around and put your calves up on, well, I'm going to turn around. You can, if you have a chair, you can put your calves up on a chair, or you can lay flat. You know, if your body's like, nope, I like laying flat, then follow your body. And these are all, everything that I say is just suggestions. Everybody's different. So, but sometimes having our knees a little bent after a practice like what we just did can be very soothing for the low back. So maybe try a rolled blanket or a bolster underneath your knees or your calves up and just see if that feels good. And if it doesn't, or at any point you want to, you can just straighten your legs. All right, so once you get to where you want to be, take your time, kind of just getting set up for your shavasana just right. And then take a moment to just relax yourself. Whatever choices you're making, you can always make a different choice if you find that wasn't the right choice. Feel your way into your breathing. Let your breath help you relax so the exhales can just drop you a little deeper. Let's begin to deepen our breathing. A full inhale, a long, steady exhale. And then invite movement as you'd like. Small, big, take your time. And then as you eventually come to your side, use your arms, help yourself up instead of just forcing yourself up. And just give yourself a moment to notice. Let your diaphragm relax. Take a deep breath. And bring your hands to your heart. And let's offer our practice. Send your energy. Give your love and care to another. Namaste. Thank you, everyone.